Welcome to Money in the Cloud, where cloud cost management is made simple. The team behind Japan's #1 cloud cost intelligence provider is pulling back the curtain to show you how to turn every cloud dollar into real business value.
Each episode of this series will pair Alphaus experts with finance leaders, platform engineers, and FinOps pioneers to trade real business stories, break down the latest tools, and share practical playbooks you can surely put to work. So sit back, relax, and listen as we help you turn your cloud bills into brilliant gains. Today, we will be diving into the journey that companies take from cloud adoption to FinOps maturity. Leading the discussion in this episode, we are joined by our host Atasha, the regional lead at Alphaus, and our special guest Andy Roy Sian, a senior business technologist at Agro Bank Malaysia. Atasha, let's get the discussion started.
Yep. So, Andy, Malaysia is hosting ASEAN Summit next week.
I think it's this week, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are
is it this
you
week? Oh, yeah,
expecting
yeah,
anything
coming this week.
exciting from the regional tech integrations?
Well, I think I'm going to step on a few people's toes here. I think people will be not so excited with the road closures because we're already, experiencing that. They were doing the rehearsal, so
Yep.
But jokes aside, I think a couple of things that I am quite keen to know, and I hope will be materialized during the ASEAN Summit meetings next week. When one of those things will be pertaining to the progress and of the implementation of ASEAN Digital Economic Framework Agreement, or DEFA. Right? I think this is quite crucial because it was supposed to be allowing seamless digital trade and services to flow freely within the ASEAN region. And I think that is something that has been on the our leaders and our neighbors leaders discussion all this while. And some of those topics will include cross-border data flows,
right.
which is quite important when it comes to cloud, right? Especially
That's right.
costing, data egress costs, all those stuff. E-payments, cybersecurity, with ransomware cases growing rapidly now. And last but not least, the topic on digital talents, right? And I think we need to, I hope they can start looking at how member ASEAN countries complement each other in this topic. I don't want to be, what do you call that, a bit unfair to our friends from India and other countries, but I think we should give our nearest neighbors a chance to basically, work together with us in beefing up our tech talents, right? So that is something DEFA. I'm looking forward to some kind of development for DEFA. The other topic is, I think, also probably related to DEFA is how do we harmonize our digital policies, at ASEAN level. We have this, sometimes our own policies are not so friendly with our neighbors, and that kind of somehow self-defeating in nature, if I were to put it that way. So I hope we can see some kind of harmonization that will actually help a lot when we talk about investment, moving of digital talents, and coming out with perhaps one ASEAN cloud. If you were to think that far, we have one ASEAN cloud where if we have things like harmonized data outflow policies, like what we have in Singapore, where we utilize Singapore region for a lot of our customer data, PII data, right? So probably we can, create one ASEAN data framework hub kind of thing where we can use, for example, Vietnam region as our alternative DR regions on top of in conjunction with Malaysia being the what you call it, the primary regions, right? So I hope we can look at that, and last but not least, I think the most important part, as you can see now, we have all these ransomware cases happening to one of the government agencies in town center. I don't want to name the name, but everybody knows. And one of my previous employers, my previous organization I used to work with in the aviation sector, I also don't want to name them. But if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you would know that particular organization. So it's, I think there's quite a lot that is on the table and to be discussed in these upcoming ASEAN meetings and summit. Looking forward to any new exciting
Yeah.
development or
I think
tech
I
related
really hope that
matters.
our audience also consists of the policymakers, because I think what you've been studying a lot, I guess, and also I think it's a very good suggestion that can be used by. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
also
yeah.
mentioning about ASEAN, and we are also in the middle of geopolitical tensions between superpowers. So as you
Oh
know,
yes,
Malaysia has been taking the neutral
yes,
stance as usual. How do you see the neutrality shaping
as
our
usual.
country's role in terms of the cloud service space?
I think this active neutrality stand has been benefiting us a lot, I would say, since the formation of the country, and it has been benefiting us for the past 30, 40 years. And I think that is going to be the stand moving forward and for the future. I mean, I have, friends and former colleagues in the government, and sometimes this is one of the things that we talk during golf, right? For out of the all the occasions that we meet, and it's an interesting topic because we are not saying that we are small, nor that I'm saying we are big, right? But given the understanding of the impact of if we're leaning too much against one side, or sometimes it can backfire, right? And we've seen that happening
Yeah,
to other countries around the world. So I think our leaders are they have a strong basic and understanding about the geopolitics dance, so to say, right? And previously our leaders were having active conversation with superpowers like US and China, and now if you notice, Russia also is in the mix, right? And I think other countries like
that's right.
Turkey also try to expand their influence. So we are also there. So I think we are trying to be our very best to be friends with everyone, right? Because we know that big friends rather than enemies are much better, right? And the world is so small that we actually need each other more than we're supposed to be
You're right.
killing each other. But coming back to when it comes to cloud, and I think that is where we actually have the we are in the best position, if I were to put it, right? And our ASEAN leaders should be thinking that way. And this is something that I hope we can take into serious consideration. If ASEAN, and I'm trying not to be political here, but if ASEAN can look at the impact of, for instance, if we can create a secure financial cloud for ASEAN.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking from the financial sector perspective, right? And for banks,
Yep.
insurance companies to go to cloud is like this. It's like challenging yet exciting journey. But if all of these cloud service providers together with the regulators within ASEAN work together, create a secure financial cloud for ASEAN, right? I think we can really look at tremendous growth of cloud adoption and other digital transformation initiatives. And I think that should happen because now people are talking about going,
That's right. Yeah.
adopting Gen AI, agentic AI, and
Yep.
you require a lot of resources, right? There's no way buying hardware going to meet that demand. And to make things more interesting or worse, you have all these cybersecurity issues come into play, right? And when you talk to a lot of those vendors are keep on talking, you need to deploy agentic AI throughout your organization. That's the topic of how do we handle
Yep.
our APIs
Yep.
being used, and try to avoid spaghetti infrastructure. So all these things, we are actually in not just Malaysia but ASEAN. We are actually at the right moment in time and the opportunity to basically become a digital powerhouse if we work
Yep.
collectively in that manner. Right? I hope it is something that not just us, but I would love us to take the role of championing that. Right? Probably PMX is listening about this, and get the ball rolling and onboard the entire
Yes.
ASEAN countries to work together on this. And that is we can see a lot of you know projects being fast tracked, and digital adoption will be even more faster than we have now. But that's me from the financial sector. I don't know about
Yeah,
the
it makes
others,
good
but
sense
I
because
think they have
financial
the same
sector is an
sentiment.
enabler, right, for the businesses. Yeah. And also, you mentioned that you've been. I
Exactly.
mean, I know you've been talking to
Exactly.
many tech providers, corporate leaders when it comes to digital transformation, digital adoption. So now with the global giants like the AWS, Google, Microsoft, expanding their presence here, in particular in this region and also in Malaysia. So do you see any? Does that help in terms of building momentum in terms of cloud adoption across industries, or do you see would there be any different kind of topics being discussed at the top level or between your corporate leaders that you met?
I think the cloud adoption now is far more aggressive
Okay.
than we were 4 years ago, and I think I have to give thanks to our industry peers like Bank Islam and other banks who have and other financial institutions like Paynet and their what do you call that, their so-called family members who have basically paved the way for the rest of us in the financial sector to move to cloud, right? So I remember 2 years ago when I had that opportunity to engage with Bank Islam on their cloud adoption, especially their core banking system. So I think you heard about the story before. I organized 2 study visits. We went to see them. They were kind enough to basically host us. And one of I have a few objectives at that point in time. One is to open up my colleagues' mind about, we can actually use public cloud for all our critical, non-critical systems. Somebody is already doing it. Secondly, to basically start instigating and plant the seeds of, adopting digital core banking system, which is a part of the crucial technology stack in our digital transformation journey. And of course, to start look at, having subscriptions as part of your
right.
IT investment and spending. So during that session, when Bank Islam shared that we actually have our digital core on cloud, on subscription, I can see some of my senior colleagues, they were like looking at each other, is this possible? So fast track forward today, right? May 25, we have around 14 new digital transformation projects destined to go to cloud.
That's a lot.
We already have workloads on premise. We're looking at moving to cloud. And it's not just us, our industry peers, the others, right? Some of them going to launch their financial super app very soon, already waiting for the regulator to give the green light. And it's interesting. Then that's the financial sector, right? Then we can see we have a lot of traction there. Then I still keep in touch with my previous colleagues from other organizations like Postal in Korea and also that aviation I mentioned before. Different sectors, right? And even the government sectors, right? The government agencies and the GLCs, they are all aggressively moving to cloud, right? And this is also being fueled by that hype of AI, Gen AI, Agentic AI, whatnot, right? And that is I couldn't say that that things are slowing down, even though there's some pockets where we heard those have gone to cloud but decided to come back on premise because of spending. And that's the topic of the day. But when I spoke to the system integrator or IT reseller that is actually servicing that particular company, I told them particularly one thing, and I keep on stressing this to a lot of my friends and my industry peers when on specifically on cloud spending. Do not treat FinOps as an afterthought, right? Because a lot of them treated FinOps as an afterthought. So after 1 year, when they have their cloud spending ballooning without control, then only they realize cloud is actually expensive. So I think part of their cloud adoption strategy roadmap in RMIT, it is basically being mentioned that financial sector players also need to look into how they're going to manage their cloud spending. Not just the cybersecurity part, not just about upskilling their people, not just about being modern and try to service your customer better, but there's that portion, right? It's a different behavior. It's actually a cultural change. But let's save that for
very interesting because you
next point of
already
discussion.
you already touched about FinOps, but as you know, the FinOps thing is very new, especially in our region. it would be great if you can, share about, a sentence or two about FinOps.
Right. So let me share a bit about how I came into FinOps in the very first place. So remember the part that I was, engaging Bank Islam and other banks and all these cloud service providers on cloud adoption. And one of the things that was bothering me is that because it's going to be subscription, and your business units are going to be empowered to activate or use their
That's
own
right.
cloud resources, right? So there's one question that actually bothered me at the time. How do I govern usage, and how do I get procurement and finance on board? So that is where I started Googling, and then I came across FinOps. Then it got me hooked, right? And at that point in time, I saw there's a huge gap, right? About 2 years, 3 years ago, that even the cloud service providers themselves didn't talk much about it, because I think
That's
at
right.
that time they want people to really spend, right? And then I came across FinOps Foundation, and I came across you guys, and then that the thing and it is clear as the bright blue sky that this has to happen. And that is where in my own organization in Agro Bank, I voluntarily took that role as a FinOps champion,
Right.
on top of cloud, because they were actually asking me, hey, do you want to do cloud? I said, yeah. And do you want to do API management? I said, yeah. But there's a put. If I want to do cloud, I want to do FinOps too, because that must go in line, right? It shouldn't be an afterthought. So they said, well, you know what to do, you just go ahead and do it, right? So yeah, that's a bit, in summary, how I came across FinOps
Very, very
from the very
interesting.
beginning.
For the benefits of the audience, I think the context that you provided actually gave some idea how FinOps actually looks like in the background. But do you see many more people in Agro Bank itself getting more interested in FinOps topic in particular?
Good question. So we conducted one workshop, I think, last year, right? There was some excitement about that, but I think things came into a bit of like a pause, not stop, but a pause, short pause, because there's one particular workload they were looking forward to basically start deploying, but it got halted, right? So the momentum somehow stalled for a while. But we immediately found other workloads that we can move in, within the next 6 months' time. And these are mixture of critical and non-critical systems, right? I shouldn't name the projects because they're quite PNC, but if you really understand, if you're in the financial sector, all the new business model for banks and finance, those are the kind of things I can give some kind of hint, right? And these systems going to these projects are going to consume a lot of cloud resources, and we already on AWS Malaysia region utilizing 3 availability
Very
zones,
nice.
2 for productions and 1 for DR, and we already have set up for our direct connect, right, to enable from cloud and to on-premise integrations. So we are working towards getting the secure landing zone ready for those workloads to come in, and that also include some of those agentic AIs and Gen AI projects that we've been
Wow, very nice. So
cooking right now.
you've been sharing with us some PNC projects in the in a nutshell.
It's very high level, but yeah, it's very high level. But if someone is really from the sector and they've been in the same shoes as mine, doing digital strategy for their own financial institution, I think they will understand where we're heading.
The reason that I asked you earlier about also in regards to the training. So we also will, host as Southeast Asia FinOps Bootcamp soon in June and July. So we're trying to gauge the market, whether market have some level of understanding in terms of FinOps. Yeah, soon we're gonna start and share more with organizations, and really hope that organizations, especially from the banking sector, could also join. So for the Southeast Asia FinOps Bootcamp, we're not just targeting the Malaysian companies, but we're also targeting from Singapore and Brunei. So in this way, we can actually learn from each other, probably part of the ASEAN integration. Of course, we start with our very close neighbor, and then of course we can extend to other ASEAN countries. But as of now, we are covering Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. So hopefully, among the companies, we can learn from each other, because I think a certain country has a more advanced practice. So I think in Malaysia, if we are quite new, I think we can anticipate what's coming as well.
Yep. I think just to add, right, Atasha, what you guys are doing in Malaysia is actually in the right approach, and I think very soon, right, we're going to see the fruits of your team's labor, right? And I recall our conversation many months ago about how do we get the ball rolling and the traction for FinOps practice to grow in Malaysia. And I think what you guys did is actually in the right direction, where you guys actually get your HRBC certification, right, and offering it as part of your offerings on top of the platform that you have. But you also created what you call a training wing or upskilling wing that can help with the offering FinOps training, HR claimable programs, and that will entice potential enterprise or customers to basically look at FinOps, especially those who are or who have moved to cloud, right? So that actually provided a better opportunity for them. They are more open, rather than if it's not HRDC claimable, then they will think twice about sending their guys for that, right? So what you guys did actually
and also, for the record, we really thank you. For many moons ago, we had a very good discussions. I think you're one of the earliest guy in Malaysia championing FinOps. We're really grateful having that kind of thoughts. I mean, especially along the training, that actually gave us perspective in terms of how should we take it forward. And of course, we want to collaborate and really understand the needs of the market, especially from the corporate sector where they are right now, how willing they are to adopt FinOps. And also, since we are talking about FinOps as well, when you first brought, you mentioned a little bit about this, but when you first brought FinOps into Agro Bank, right? What sort of opportunities or challenges that you initially faced, if you can share, if it's not?
I think it's the same with other organizations when you want to introduce new things, right? Especially if that thing is called change or transformation. So naturally, you will have frictions, right? You will have your supporters, you also have your naysayers, right? And I think the naysayers is just time. These are some of the people who wants to see that thing materialize first, then only they'll say, okay, this is something that I can work with, this is something that is good for the organization. So it's just time. Right? But because a lot of this transformation related or change related movement or practice, if we were to introduce, at the end of the day, it's all about human interactions, human relationships, right? So building that relationship, getting people on board, it's a constant effort, because the organization has a lot of conflicting priorities. We have compliance priorities, we have business priorities, then we have our whatsoever not. So it's just about getting them constantly interested on the topic. I also sometimes do my own internal sharing, and constantly refreshing them from time to time. So it's a journey. It's still we are very much still in infancy stage. I was surprised it took a bit of time for us to basically grow, but we're getting there, right? It's just time because, and I keep on reminding my team members, I'm quite a, I would call not a showstopper, but sometimes I could be that party spoiler, right? Because everybody was saying, like, for instance, we are so excited about
Yes.
agentic AI adoption, and people were like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. Then sometimes I always be that person to be like, okay, guys, let me pull you guys back for a while. How do we look at our API strategy and our cloud spending?
I
And
see
then we
what you
start to
mean.
look
Yes,
at me and,
I see what you mean.
okay, right, can you look into that and come back to us? I said, okay. So, you know, there's that moment when we're having conversations, exciting conversations, and I have to be the right person to really pull it back down to earth and say, hey guys, we have not done anything to prepare for that yet, so let's focus on building the basics, right? So interesting conversation, and yeah, it's a journey, right? It's not a destination. So I believe our other FinOps industry practitioners, they're also facing the same thing, and I think that is, you know, something that every single organization has to go through, right? Yeah. So I think the next one, the good thing is our CFO understands, right? And he's quite supportive of it. That's one thing and our own division chief also very supportive of it, because they know that at the end of the day it's about, you know, if you're supposed to turn off the water and electricity over the weekend, please do it, be an adult, and remind yourself to do that. So it's putting back that responsibility and accountability, right, on your technology spending, and be more aware and sensitive about what you spend. So the traditional model doesn't work anymore, where you buy and say, okay, that's it, then I'll wait for it to depreciate, right? This one is I can immediately turn it on and then start looking at things being deployed, and then some of the interesting, what you call that, sharing that our industry peers that I got hold of was that there's a small group of people doing some kind of POC on Friday, right? They were testing some new features of software, then they deployed the instances, then they test the integration and say, yeah, it's actually worked, right? And then everybody high-fiving each other, then after that they forgot to switch off.
Most of the time.
Typical. Yeah, typical things, right? Then they forgot about it all together. Then the FinOps guys and finance got to hold each other and say, hey, why our cloud spending grows so big, right? So who are the people who forgot to, you know, so can somebody go in and determine, right, and check who forgot to switch off those things, right? So we have yet to reach that particular juncture, but I'm excited to basically, you know, experience that with my team, because that can actually, you know, help, what do you call it, why, you know, the whys of why we need to have FinOps, right? That will help it enforce the understanding, the appreciation of the topic itself.
One of the companies that we spoke in Singapore, when we did the calculation, if just they turn off, they just turn off the instance, they can save about $2 million a year just by turning off. That's it. That's it.
There you go.
But, no one takes responsibility.
That's simple as that, right?
So that's why, you know, they need to have the fin practice. And also, I really like about one thing that you mentioned about relationship. I think about when you want to get your stakeholders, keep them interested, refreshing about FinOps, and then I think it's a lot of effort, but I think that's one key takeaway that we can have, especially when it comes to implementing FinOps in large corporates like you guys. And also, one thing, if you can describe your FinOps journey so far in just one word, right? One word, what would that be, and why?
I almost wanted to say eye-opening, but I think the right word would be humbling. So I thought, you know, cloud was supposed to be much simpler, because when I was at the aviation company that I used to work with, I was basically the budget owner for the entire point of sale system in the international airports, right? And I actually introduced a new charging model. So I revised the contracts with our post system vendors, and I introduced pay per use model, right? Which means if, you know, we we agree for this total contract value, but I might not be spending until that, right? It depends if we go full blast. So at least we have that common agreement. But I will only pay the number of equipment and devices that our airport tenants are using. So that way I could tally the number of OPEX
Makes
I
sense.
paid and I collect. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple maths, right? Logic, right? And of course it meant a lot of I met a lot of what do you call that people who are basically disagreed with that model, because they said it's we have to change the contract over here. So I told them no, we just put addendum, right? Nothing. So I don't want to question their motives, but basically I managed to do that. So I gotten hold of people from legal and also from finance to help me. So finance with the numbers, they understand, right? The legal basically to help me with, okay, if you want to change these contracts, that's where they advise me how to do it and whatnot. So it happened, right? But and I brought that understanding with the companies that moved on after that, and now with Agro Bank. But I didn't actually know that it's going to be even more complicated when it comes to cloud. So that's why it's quite humbling to me, because I thought I know all of it right now, right? With so-called subscription for your technology spending and services. But cloud is really a humbling experience, right? Deploying it is one thing, building trying to build that and sell the idea of cloud center of excellence and together with the ops practice all together, right? It's actually a humbling experience. So every day is a new day. Every day is, you're back to become a beginner all over again, because it's still early, right? It's still early, and you encounter new things as you go along. So I would say it's a humbling.
Very exciting. Exciting every day.
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Andy, again, for making time on behalf of the Money in the Cloud podcast and also Alphaus Cloud. We sincerely thank you for your insights that you have shared with us. So hopefully we can continue our collaboration and make FinOps really, really successful in Malaysia.
Yeah, man. I look forward to working closely with you guys and our industry peers. I think we should be having some kind of events this year or next year. Get FinOps Foundation to help us. Probably, I don't know. Yeah, and there's just to add also a bit before we I'm trying to also work with some of the cloud service providers to create something for the financial sector. It has been done elsewhere, and something that we covered earlier, right? And this is a conversation with one of the technology partners yesterday, and it's quite interesting. And I hope we can really get that traction going, and further what do you call that? Accelerate cloud adoption and ops adoption at the same time. So stay tuned. Perhaps we're going to have that covered in our future podcasts. Something I look forward to. Yeah. Probably we get other ecosystem players to also join us in another future podcasts.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for this very insightful conversation. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to a pilot episode of Money in the Cloud. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Alphaus Inc. for more expert chats on turning cloud expenses into strategic investments. You can also catch this episode on Spotify, and we'd love for you to join our communities on LinkedIn and Facebook. Until next time, Cloud Venturers,